We're joined with Ian Goodwin from the Sheppey Coastguards here at the Monday Night Community Show. Good evening, Ian.
Good evening, Daniel, and good evening to all your listeners.
Good to have you back for a regular two-monthly slot. Could you give us our usual kind of introduction?
Yeah, just to give you an overview, I always do this, just to remind you, your listeners, that as an island nation, 97% of the UK trade by weight is by sea, and there can be no doubt that shipping is vital to the UK economy. And basically, we've got something like 10,500 miles of outstanding, beautiful coastline along there. And obviously, from our point of view, we are Her Majesty's Coastguard, which is responsible for the search and rescue in what is a considerable region extending out to sea, as well as that 10,500 miles of coastline. We're part of the Department of Transport, and we're an executive agency headed up by a chief executive of the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency, which has a number of strands, one of which is the Coast Guard. And basically our remit is for implementing the government's maritime safety policy, and we are the on-call emergency organisation responsible for the initiation and coordination of all civilian maritime search and rescues within the UK maritime area.
We are joined with Ian Goodwin from the Sheppey Coastguards here at BRFM. We're joined back with Ian Goodwin from the Sheppey Coastguards here at BRFM. Ian, what are the primary objectives of the Coastguard?
Well, in essence, we have three objectives. The first one is to respond to requests for assistance from vessels or persons in distress or potential distress, including those vessels or persons missing at sea or on the coastline. It's also to respond in conjunction with the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency's Counter-Pollution and Response Branch to reports of actual or potential threats of maritime pollution, and to use the skills and expertise of Coast Guard rescue officers like myself and my colleagues in an accident prevention capacity, such as doing radio interviews, and providing safety education for professional and recreational mariners, as well as students and children in colleges and local schools, and we do those talks up and down in the locality. In essence, we are the command and control of all search and rescue at sea, and as a result of that, we have something like 3,250 Coast Guard rescue officers scattered across the. We're sort of voluntary, but we are part. It's a part-time type job. We're scattered across the length of that 10,500 miles of coastline, and we're supported by somewhere in the region of about 1,000 staff based at the 30 main locations in the country where those people operate from. And within our own team, there was 11 of us who cover the all aspects of Sheppey, which goes basically from Rochester Bridge, with overlaps of our flank stations, right up to the Shipwright Arms, which is on the Ore estuary.
What safety advice do you have for us, Ian?
Well, the Coast Guard, the Her Majesty's Coast Guard at this moment in time, have issued a number of press releases regarding warning anglers, and as I come on to a bit later, we have had 2 incidents this week regarding fishermen. But this was press notice which was issued by Mark Clark, who's the Public Relations Officer based in our HQ in Southampton, and it was issued on January the 14th, so it's very current. And it's saying, following 7 days of tragedy in the northeast, coastguards are urging anglers to stay safe on the coast. On average, 7 anglers lose their life on the UK coast every year, but in the past week, Her Majesty's Coastguard have dealt with 3 incidents already, and this is serious incidents. A man was killed near New Brigham in Northumberland when the cliff he was fishing from collapsed. A County Durham man is missing after not returning from fishing on the beach near Blackhall, and most recently a 52-year-old man who was angling was seriously injured and he fell 70 foot down a narrow shaft on a disused industrial pier near Hartlepool last night, and that would have been on January the 13th. Over the previous 18 months, 2 anglers have lost their life off the Aberdeen coast, most recently last Sunday. So basically, one of the chaps whose operational areas covers all 3 of the incidents in the northeast has urged anglers to think about their personal safety and to look at the potential risks that are inherent when fishing from the coast, especially in winter time and in the hours of darkness, as I shall come on to in a minute. Although very different incidents, the common link with all 3 is angling is at least two were easy. Sorry, the common link with all 3 is angling, and at least 2 were easily avoidable. So, first thing to remember is be aware of eroding and dangerous cliffs, Got plenty of those round our
Yep.
north coast. Get the tide tables and use them. Do not become trapped by the incoming tide. Keep away from piers during rough seas. Wear a life jacket. You know, most important, that one. Tell someone exactly where you'll be and when you're likely to be called home. Make sure your battery's fully charged on your vessel, and dress appropriately for the cold and wet. And for goodness sake, have a look at the weather conditions, because one this week could have been avoided if someone had actually looked at the weather conditions.
We are joined with Ian Goodwin from the Sheppey Coastguard as part of our regular slot here at the Monday Night Community Show. We're joined with Ian Goodwin from the Sheppey Coastguard here at BRFM. Ian, what are the incident stats for 09?
Well, it's rather interesting. We've actually compiled a list of all the incidents that occurred for the Sheppey Coastguard station, and I was quite astounded to realise that we've had 117 incidents. Starting off in January 09, we had 7, February 3, March 6, April 6, and then as the weather gets warmer, May 16, June 12, July 18, August, height of the holiday season, 22, September 10, October 11, November 5, and December 1. So, you know, it's a little histogram, quite a normal distribution as one would expect. 6 months of the year we'd have more than we would do at this time of the year, but that's 117. So, you know, quite you know, one every 3 days in essence, that is. Which leads me on quite nicely to finishing off, which will be the incidents this year. We've had 5 so far,
right,
and we're just at the month end. Sunday the 1st at about 12 o'clock in the afternoon, we were paged by Thames Coastguard to meet and greet the Sheerness lifeboat, who had rescued 2 men from a 4-metre boat called Susanna from the Shivering Sands Towers whilst en route from Gravesend to Herne Bay. The casualty craft had neither radio nor flares, nor were any life jackets available. So here we are, New Year's Day, 2 people going out, no life jackets, no flares, and they're going out technically in winter time, and it's been extremely cold. The lifeboat considered the conditions to be too dangerous for a tow to take place, and the casualty craft was therefore left at Shivering Sands whilst the occupants were removed to safety at Sheerness. Not a very wise move on the part of those 2 individuals. Wednesday the 4th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, again we were asked to meet and greet a craft called Stunaway at the Queenborough All-Tide Landing after being towed there by Sheerness inshore lifeboat following engine fuel failure due to fuel feed problems. Again, spare engine would have overcome that particular difficulty if they had a secondary engine. Doesn't have to be big, just actually get them back to shore. Thursday, I think the 12th, in the afternoon, we were tasked by Thames following a report of suspected ordnance found off the Retreat Cafe at Laysdown. The object turned out to be a piece of wood, but this was regarded as a false alarm with good intent. We're happy to go and look at things because it was a false alarm. It wasn't a hoax. Someone had genuinely thought that was some part of ordnance, so we went out there. And we would just like to remind people that if they suspect any object found on the coast, then are to ring 999 and ask for Her Majesty's Coastguard. And to date, I mean last year, we had 9 separate incidents involving real ordnance found on the coast last year in 2009. So we did actually find 9, you know, what you could technically term incendiary devices, bombs, that sort of thing. The final 2 incidents have occurred this week. The first one was on Tuesday evening, late at night. An individual had gone out in poor weather conditions and had got bashed up onto a lee shore, with a lee wind, and bashed him up onto the shore. He had to be rescued by the lifeboat, and we've had 3 individuals go out and effectively they launched their vessel before they tested the engine. Having launched their vessel and were in the water, they then went to turn the engine on and nothing happened, and they were now launched. Okay, again, check your engine before you go out. It's not wise to go and launch your vessel off on a river and then turn it on and find it's not going.
Ian, I'd like to thank you very much once again for speaking to us here at the Monday Night Community Show.
Thank you very much, Daniel, and I hope to be back in a couple of months' time to relay the latest incidents and more safety advice.
That's Ian Goodwin from the Sheppey Coastguard here at BRFM.